Hi, it's Enrique from APAflow. We just finished integrating PyCaret into APAflow. PyCaret is a great machine learning library. So now you are able to create machine learning models visually that are powered with PyCaret. Today I'm going to show you how to create a classification model. So let's start. I'm going to create a new project. This is going to be a classification model. We are going to use the credit dataset that comes with PyCaret. The idea here is that we want to identify users that are likely to default on their payments. So I'm going to start dragging and dropping the low dataset, and I'm going to select credit. We're going to look at the data. I'm going to run this operator with the right-click menu, run. As soon as it's done, we'll have a sample of the data. Okay, so as you can see, we have a couple of rows and we have all the columns in the data set. They are related to payments, time, and amount. The last column is default. It's used to identify users that default on their payment. Looking at the data shape, I realize we have 24 columns. So now that we have our data set, it's time to do some exploration. I'm going to use the data exploration icon for this. To connect the two icons, I'm going to use the connect tool. To set the data exploration icon, I have to select the columns that I want to explore. I'm going to start with my target column, default, and then I'm going to select more columns. To select multiple columns, use the Control key in your keyboard. The idea here is to look at some charts that will show the relationship among your columns. I'm going to execute the icon again, or the operator. Pay attention to the console because it will show the status of the execution. So we're waiting. So it's done. Now we have a nice correlation matrix, and we have some pair plots. Somehow visually you are able to identify relationship among the columns in the data set. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. So let's continue. Now we have to prepare the data. Under data preparation, I'm going to use the setup classification operator. I'm going to connect that to the load dataset using the connect tool that is also available in the toolbar. Here, I'm going to select my target, my default column. Train size is going to be 0.7, meaning 70% of data will be used in training, 30% of the data will be used in testing. Now I'm going to run this operator. What it's doing right now is looking at the data and doing a lot of feature engineering. It's creating extra columns. So it's done. Now, for the classification model, I'm going to select the classification operator. Again, I have to connect the icons using the connect tool. And under classification, I have to set up a couple of things. The first one is the model that I want. In this case, I'm going to run a random forest classifier. Here we have by default, we use tenfold in cross-validation. I'm going to decrease that so it runs faster. Now let's run the model. But I'm going to use the icons in the toolbar to run this icon. I'm going to use the run icon and show results. It's running. Execution time depends on the model that you want, the size of your dataset, and the number of faults that you use in cross-validation. It could be seconds or minutes. Okay, we got the results. Here in the results, you will have all the information that you need to assess performance of your classification model. AUC looks good. You have your confusion metrics, and then you have your feature importance plot. For example, age is one variable that is really important for this model. At the end, you will find prediction on unseen data, something that PyCaret called the holdout sample. We created the classification model visually with just a couple of clicks and a couple of icons. Now we want to see the underlying code in Python that powers this model. Under options, we go to export flow as Jupyter Notebook. This will create a Jupyter Notebook with all the code used for this model. First, we save the Jupyter Notebook. And now a Jupyter instance will start to show the notebook. A browser opens automatically and it shows the generated code. So we have our dataset. We have our exploration part, preparation part, and results. So you could rerun the code here directly, or you could take this code into production. It's up to you. Let's create some documentation for this project. Under options, we go to generate flow documentation. Then we save a Word document. Automatic documentation is created for you. Let's open our documentation file. It is located in our APAflow directory under the models directory. Documentation is pretty straightforward. It describes every single component that is part of the process to create the model. I think that's all for today. Thank you very much. Don't forget to download APAflow from apaflow.com. Send us your questions to support@apaflow.com. Thank you.